the release of The Commuter, Liam Neeson's latest action thriller, I thought it would be fun to go back and look at the original series that kicked off this whole stream of Liam Neeson action thrillers, the Taken Trilogy, and stop and rank all three movies from the worst to the best. Now, before we get started, this video was actually recommended to me by one of my patrons over on Patreon, Cinephile Sam. And with that, if you don't know what Patreon is, essentially it's kind of like the Sean Chandler fan club. And if you like the content I create and want to help me continue doing it, you can support me financially over on Patreon. And as kind of a reward for doing so, you get extra influence into my channel, some exclusive videos over there, some exclusive ranking videos, some behind the scenes type stuff. It's just a way that if you like what I'm doing, want to help me keep going that extra mile, and want some extra content, you can support me over there and get some access. Cinephile Sam over there requested I rank the Taken movies, so we are ranking the Taken movies. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this and look at their Rotten Tomatoes scores. Coming in third place on this one is going to be Taken 3 with a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not so good. Just above that one is Taken 2 with 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, also not particularly good. And in first place, with significantly higher, is Taken with 58%. Still not a great score, still not a fresh score, but a lot better than a 21% or a 12%. Also, over on Twitter, if you follow me over on Twitter, sometimes whenever I do these ranking videos, I'll put up Twitter polls, get your input onto the series, kind of what you thought about them. Here's what you guys had to say on the Taken movies. I asked, what is the worst Taken movie? Only 6% said Taken 1, 23% said Taken 2, 71% said Taken 3. So that's what the critics had to say about it. We got what you guys had to say about it. What do I have to say about the Taken movies? Now, before I dive into this and perhaps pick on a couple of these movies a little bit, just so you know, I watch all three Taken movies every single year. I'm a huge fan of this trilogy. This is my kind of schlock. This is the stuff I like to put on in the background. So perhaps these movies get played in my house too much, and my wife picks on me for doing so a lot, an awful lot, for just how much I watch the Taken movies. With that said, let's dive into it. Coming in third place is Taken 3. Now, Taken 3, when I first saw it, I didn't mind it so much because I kind of liked the change of direction they went for things. It's very much a poor man's version of The Fugitive, where our protagonist is accused of murdering his wife and he's being tracked down by a smart detective who's got some quirks to him. That's The Fugitive. There's even a scene in this one where he's running through the sewers like in The Fugitive. And so I kind of like the change of pace with that sort of nature. But the movie doesn't hold up very well on rewatchings for several different reasons. One of them is this director. We'll talk about him again when we talk about Taken 2. I just don't like his style of directing at all, especially specifically the action, the way he does it with the ultra fast cuts through everything, I think is abysmal. I think it's one of the worst ways of handling action, and he's one of the worst at doing this sort of, I mean, there's scenes in this movie where he jumps over a fence and there's 10 cuts in 2 seconds, things like that where you go, why? So right off the bat, it doesn't hold up too well because of that. Second, they do retconning in the movie where they recast the new husband in it. And it used to be Xander Berkeley, who's a guy that's like 20 years older than Famke Janssen, looks a lot older than Bryan Mills and Liam Neeson. And they recast him with Dougray Scott, who's like 15 years younger than Liam Neeson and looks nothing like Xander Berkeley, which kind of very much changes the vibe to it. It's the sort of thing that just sticks out so much, and it's kind of like, what? Why did you recast him? And it, like, this gives a different vibe to it, and it feels a little like they're being lazy when they do things like that. And so that was frustrating to me. And then just in general, there's not a lot of logic to the story. Right off the bat, it kicks off, and when the situation comes unfold where the inciting incident, she gets killed, happens, and Bryan's there, the police come in and freeze, and he starts going, I didn't do this. Right there, and so we're supposed to be like, oh no, they don't believe him. They're there to arrest him. Right there, you can just pause and go, wait, no, they're police officers that were called because someone thought a murder happened. They see him standing over a dead body. They don't think he's the killer. He's just the person that's standing there. And so things like that happen, and it's like there's just no logic to that. It's a movie where 2 different times in it, there's a car that explodes while Bryan Mills is associated with the car and trying to get away from it, and it just cuts away and doesn't explain how he survived. Like 2 different times. Like that's just lazy. And that's this whole movie, just lazy thinking, and whether we're going to recast retcon Stewart, and lazy and explaining how he's surviving cars, and we keep redoing the same exact, the car blows up, but he lived, cutaway trick, or the lapses and extreme lapses in logic in it. And it like, especially when you get to the end of the movie and you go, okay, he didn't have to run from the police. There's no way to justify it because he hadn't been convicted. He hadn't even been arrested. Like, there was nothing that was said they're out to get him. No one's trying, like, there's nothing in it that says they're trying to do that at the beginning of the movie, and he starts beating up cops immediately, which is a crime. And then there's a sequence in it where he causes a car accident and like semi-truck flies over and plows through cars, and dozens of people would have been killed by this. He is responsible for that. Like, he did do that. And the movie just kind of ignores all of this. And so when you have that much suspension of disbelief at the core of it, as much as the novelty of It's Like the Fugitive is kind of nice and a change of pace, no, this one just doesn't work. And it's 30 minutes too long. It's 30 minutes longer than the other Taken movies. And so if I had to pick between this one and the one I'm about to get to, this one comes in on bottom. But coming in second place is Taken 2. Now, when I first heard the concept of this one, I actually thought that's actually not a bad idea. The idea that Bryan Mills ran amok through Europe, killing dozens of these sex traffickers. They probably have a lot of friends and family that aren't happy about that, and they're probably shady people themselves. That's a good concept. How do you take Taken and go somewhere with it that feels like an appropriate follow-up and doesn't feel contrived and forced like the third one? Well, there you go. There's a nice plot to it. And then I started hearing, oh, we also got this twist in it that Bryan Mills gets taken and his daughter is the one that has to save him. That's where I went, wait a minute. That's not so good. I didn't watch Taken because I wanted to see a 28-year-old girl playing a high schooler that can't drive a car beat people up because she can't beat people up. I don't want to see her throwing grenades. I want to see the guy with the set of skills beating people up. So that made me a little bit nervous. But I was still very optimistic and went into it, and I'd heard some negative things before I saw it, and then I saw it, and I like a lot of people, I was just very frustrated by the end result of the movie. Like I mentioned before, this director, Olivier Megatron, I call him, he just, I hate this, and I've read some interviews with him where he defends it, and he goes, oh, it's a new take, it's hyperkinetic, and it's not that. It's not hyperkinetic. It's just ADD. It's obnoxious. There's like the first scene where Bryan punches guys and they're taking him. It's literally like you just see his hand touch a guy and then it cuts to like his next movement and you cannot see the fight choreography. You cannot see what is happening because it's just cut to pieces and all of it is so quick. You're just essentially seeing still frames of Liam Neeson movements and people falling over. I hate that. I'm a fan of fight choreography. I'm a fan of wide takes and long takes. And some people on occasions have kind of gotten away with it. Like, I don't really even like it in the Bourne movies, and they did it best. And I still would prefer if they had not chopped the whole thing to pieces. And just, I can do if you want to do handheld, but cutting it up to pieces, I don't get it at all unless you're just being lazy, which they're probably being lazy. Second one, because Bryan Mills doesn't go into action until the third act, because first act is set up, second act he's taken, third act he's freed, and then he kind of goes into action. We're missing out on kind of the key element there. The third one, I don't like the city there in Istanbul. I don't think it worked. It all feels the same. It looks like they're in the same location the whole movie, and it's not just a gorgeous city, of course. But the way it plays out in the movie just feels like they're driving down these corridors. And so even though the movie had a bigger budget and they could be more expansive in what they were doing, it feels a lot more contained in the wrong sense. It makes the movie feel cheaper because of the environments that they're in the movie. With all that said, I mean, it's still like a fun ride. If you want to just kind of put a movie on in the background that you don't have to think about, and you're seeing Liam Neeson punch people and getting in car chases and obnoxious scenarios happening, you get all of that in this movie. And what I picked on the director a little bit. I appreciate the fact that this movie ends with like a boss fight with Liam Neeson and one of the random henchmen, and they're like standing on a platform, and there's these big shots spinning around as the music swells up, and it's way too epic for the actual situation. I love stuff like that when movies like this that take themselves so seriously at the wrong moments. But coming in first place is, of course, Taken. This is one of those movies that none of us had it on our radar going into 2009 that, oh yeah, my most anticipated movie of the year, Liam Neeson's Taken. None of us thought that was going to be the movie we were going to be talking about that was going to redefine Liam Neeson's career after his, well-respected 30 years in Hollywood. And then this movie comes out. And it's a hokey movie too. I think that's my favorite thing about it, is that it's really hokey. It kicks off with him like in a Radio Shack, like talking about karaoke machines like a dopey dad. And then it kicks into high gear, and dopey dad has a set of skills. And it's a movie that so captures this genre right. And what that is you have a very simple premise that something bad happens that makes you hate the bad guys, and you've got the hero that can take them out. And so we've got urgency, whereas imminence, like he has to get there, and so we can justify everything that he's doing. And all these people that are stopping him, hey, they're defending sex traffickers, or they are sex traffickers, or they're abating sex traffickers. Why would I care if anything happens to them? And so it rationalizes everything that happens. And as a guy that loves violent movies and loves torture scenes for bad guys, this movie gives me what I wanted. And when you get an actor like Liam Neeson that can just play deadpan serious so well, and you put him there, and he's just going through all of this stuff, torturing guys, beating people up, shooting his friend's wife, he can sell it. Just sells it so well. And on this one, the fight scenes are better than the other ones. They're not as good as they could be. Once again, they're pretty cutty. They're not nearly as bad as the future ones. But just going through, you get to see everything well enough as he's punching guys in the throats, throwing them through glass, driving spikes into their legs, all the fun stuff that you want in a movie that just sets that sense of urgency. And of course, if you're talking Taken, the epic monologue that kicks things off. The one that really sold the movie. I bet if they hadn't put that monologue in the trailer and they just kind of showed sort of the idea, my daughter's been taken, and you just showed everything else except the monologue, I don't think the movie probably would have done half as well. Same exact movie, but it would have done half as well. But you put that monologue in there.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want.
And suddenly, there's just something about that monologue that's just so intense and mysterious, and you're like, oh no, I believe this guy. Oh, it's about to go down, and what he promises, it unfolds. And once again, a movie this isn't like brilliant cinema. I talk about when I'm doing my rankings and reviews, perfectly crafted movies and things like that a lot. This isn't like an amazing crafted movie, but it's a very simple movie that knows its craft. Unlike the previous two movies that forgot their craft and made mistakes on these sorts of basic things, this one knows its craft, and it knows. You put this little nugget in there of he does this epic monologue and the guy goes, good luck. And we know the whole movie's building up to finding this guy, and the whole time he's repeating, good luck, good luck, good luck. And then we've got this scene later in the movie, and Neeson's talking to these guys, and then he puts this little card, and the guy goes, oh, what does this say? Good luck. And he says it, and that made the movie. I mean, this is a schlocky action thriller that I love, but that scene, that like little elements like that are so nicely crafted that as you're watching it, you're like, oh, it's about to go down. And it does. And it does. And this guy that you hate, as you've been watching all of this, we can justify in our minds, he just strapped him to a chair and he's electrocuting him and just leaving him there. Like, we can justify that because the movie has crafted this world of sex traffickers that deserve everything they're about to get. Thus, Taken easily takes the #1 spot. And what you learn from the Taken movies is you need to have a simple premise and a ticking clock. Like, there's something out there that we've got to get through to in time, and enough bad guys in the way to make it interesting. That's what we learned from Taken. Nice, simple premise. You just have to find that hook to get us in there, and that right monologue to make us love it and go see it in the theaters. Comes in at #1. How about you guys? Tell me down below in the comment section, how do you rank the Taken movies? Have you guys seen the Taken TV show? I kind of watched the first season, and it doesn't capture the vibe of them. Once again, it doesn't have that ticking clock like the show does. I actually watched the season 2. That's actually why I mentioned it, because it was fresh on my mind, because I just watched season 2, episode 1. If you want to throw the TV show in there, go ahead and throw the TV show in there. But if you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, ranking videos, but the key thing is I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk about movies with you. So join me in the comments section. Let's have a lively discussion about Taken movies and Liam Neeson punching people in the face and taking out sex traffickers. And as always, thank you for watching.